Thank you. Yeah, so I want to talk to you a little bit about OutSystems and really just low code in general. You might be leveraging low code environments in your ecosystem today. If you're not, I think this will be helpful for you to learn from. If you are leveraging low code of any sort, understanding how OutSystems works and just some other platforms I think will be helpful as well. So to give you a start just on OutSystems background, we have a patent and trademark as the #1 low code development platform. We've been around for 20 years. We helped Gartner kind of invent the word low code when it came from rapid application development and some other different name nomenclature between the 90s and 2000s. But since then, since 2000 when we got started, we have 500,000 developers globally using OutSystems. We have the most number of apps in production of any low code provider. And we're a full stack platform that allows you to develop and deploy, maintain apps, enterprise apps at scale. And I'll show you a little bit more about that. So just a note on the customers, we're in all different sorts of industries. We are successful from small departmental apps to rapidly core systems and business changing applications as well in deep environments with millions of end users, lots of scale and load as well. So talking about just development in general, it's hard to create web applications today. To be able to make them scalable, performant, secure is a big issue. I think we've counted up, we have some different studies. It takes about 20 different types of personalities to be able to build, deploy, manage, test enterprise apps in today's world. And because of that, there's a big talent shortage for sure. And people are leaving jobs. I'm from Iowa. I have friends that are now working for New York businesses or London businesses and whatnot, where previously they're more regional based before we had more remote workers. So companies are losing that talent definitely to other businesses, and there's more competition there. And then besides all that, there's explosive app backlog. People want things faster and to be developed. And like I mentioned, performant. You need to upgrade those old apps. So there's a lot of reasons you already know. I'm not telling you anything new. That development is very hard. And we actually surveyed a lot of your peers out there. You can check this out at stoptechdebt.com. Just understanding the challenges behind what drives technical debt in the workplace. And a lot of people said too many development languages and frameworks. Developers, I used to be a developer full-time as well. Understanding where I need to spend my time. Do I learn the next language of tomorrow? Do I need to become an expert at what I'm doing today? What's going to get me the next best job offer out there? What's going to help me further my career? And because of that, there's turnover in development team, like I mentioned. The talent shortage is out there. They take years and loads of experience with them as they go out the door. So you probably relate to a lot of these challenges. And unless you can drastically do something different, it's hard to change. And so low code might be that environment. It might be hard to change, it might be hard to look outside, but spinning your wheels, doing the same things you did before isn't always going to be the best answer. So talking about the low code world out there, I would say starting at the bottom, low code's a buzzword. There's a lot of companies and tools out there. It's becoming very bloated, from anyone who can turn a spreadsheet into a quick application, calling themselves low code, to enterprise low code development environments. There's even large players, Salesforce, ServiceNow, calling themselves low code because you can create custom forms and custom smaller applications and reporting and whatnot. So starting at that bottom layer, there's commercial off-the-shelf software that has low code aspect to it, where you can create some of that. And they're really tied more to their off-the-shelf solution, but giving you some flexibility in what you can develop. The next layer up gives you more of some BPM capabilities, some workflow management. They were built for more process, logic, data ingestion maybe, and maybe they put some screens to that as well to help drive kind of application functionality. And alongside that line, we have no code too. So there's some environments out there that really require not much development skill, but you have to kind of adhere to what they thought you might want to develop or the walls that you're within. Taking that a step further up, there's low code for citizen developers and enterprise devs. So citizen developers are those BAs or not so technical users that can start developing an app and maybe hand it to developers to finish a little bit more as well. And when you need to go further than that, you have to go to traditional code. If you have unlimited time and resources and money, you can develop traditional code from the beginning. That might be the best option, but some of these solutions could be better depending on what you're looking for. OutSystems tries to provide the best blend of all those. So we're platform agnostic. You can install on-prem, on Google Cloud, AWS, our cloud, but you can connect to any other service you need to. So other databases, APIs and endpoints, COTS solutions. And then on the top side of this, you can actually write custom code too. So there's a lot of templates to get things started, but you can also inject custom JavaScript, consume DLLs or .NET code that you need to maintain from previous versions. So there's a lot of flexibility and really no walls you hit in our platform. That's what we're trying to strive towards. So our approach in general, and like I mentioned, if you have all the money in the world, it's pretty easy for you to create an amazing customer experience and have the top tech talent hired internally. But if you're not one of those, we and other low code platforms as a service can really bring these to your environment by letting you use the skills that you have. So we allow a great spectrum of senior developers that might be ready to retire. They're maybe not so good on the more modern web front ends and whatnot of the world. But they can come and be successful on our platform because it follows traditional programming paradigms. You're going to have for loops, event handling, the screen lifecycle of React Native apps, but also junior developers can be successful out of college too. They can act more like senior developers because there's performance warnings in the platform. There's security warnings, scalability requirements to kind of get you moving in the right direction and guide you to be a better developer. So those are some of the things I'll talk about in a minute, but we also have the most modern architecture. So right now we're on a React front end, so we produce apps to a .NET backend, but your visual drag and drop code, which I'll show you, essentially goes through a compiler. It compiles it to standard code, and that allows you to deploy it, run pen tests on it. It also allows you to export it and take it with you. If you were to leave the OutSystems ecosystem, you can take that raw code, database backup, React front end, JavaScript, CSS files, all that with you, manage it, deploy it, and change it as much as you like in the future on another platform. So you're not stuck, and you're really future-proofed. Our research and development team is always researching the best, platforms to compile to, so you don't have to worry about one of those earlier pains I told you about, trying to figure out the next development framework. What do I need to learn? Who do I need to hire? The platform helps compile to that code for you, which gives you a seamless omnichannel experience. So we work with web and mobile together. You can even share resources, not just tables and data, not just logic, but even UI components can be shared between web and mobile apps. So it reduces the talent pool that you need to hire for, enables you to develop faster, and deploy faster. A little word on us, just the analysts love us and the Gartner and Forrester between low code application development platforms and multi-experience development platforms, meaning for web and mobile at the same time. More importantly, customer word of mouth is important to us, and the customer reviews that we have out in our ecosystem compared to some of our competitors. But really diving into our customers and customer base in general, I want to talk about a few key ones that might resonate. Lender is a small business financing authority in the Midwest here. They built 5 apps in under 12 months with just a couple developers. And so I can relate to that. I actually used to be an OutSystems developer. I was a customer. I fell in love with the technology. I think it is the way of the future. And that's why I had to come join OutSystems. It's really an abstraction layer on top of traditional code with a lot of accelerants. And so Lender, had scarce developer resources. They had to develop different types of customer apps. We see success in the financial market because there's strict security requirements in what they need to deploy. And there's sometimes some older technologies they need to connect to. And at the same time, there's a nice modern user interface they need to have on a mobile app that looks nice and increases their ability to convert customers. So those are some of the challenges Lender faced. And they built a microservices architecture between all of the different apps, a nice portal for clients to check balances, portal for partners, and an internal development environment that really unifies all the different employee accounts. And that was one of their first use cases, but right when the pandemic came out, they had the PPP loan origination process that they needed to build for the small business loans. They actually built a loan origination platform in 6 hours on a weekend. So having this type of technology helps you grow to new requirements that could pop up at any time that maybe you're not prepared for. And without OutSystems or a low code provider, they think it would be very hard to have had that same success. Let's look at their apps, for example. Another one I like to show just on the Schneider Electric side, a large global electricity provider. They have a lot of IoT devices. They really understood the OutSystems development practice and went all in with 150 developers. They developed 60 apps very fast in a number of 20 months, and they're constantly growing their app base and OutSystems developer base as well. And I think one of my favorite quotes anywhere is just from their director of digital that said OutSystems or this type of platform helped us bridge the gap between business demands and available IT resources. So if you think about that, that's exactly what we're trying to do. There's so many demands that you have, like I mentioned in my first few slides, of app complexity and how to support these types of apps and what the business and your customers and your employees demand. And you only have so many resources. These types of platforms help bridge that gap heavily and allow you to create solutions much faster. So just a little bit more about how we do that. And I'd say this is similar to other low code platforms. I encourage you to research out there. I'm happy to talk with you about them. But in our case, we're a full stack platform. Honestly, everything that you would need to develop enterprise apps at scale comes in the box. So you have other databases you need to connect to. You have other API calls. You have other solutions, obviously, that you'd want to integrate with. But if you didn't and you needed to start at scale, the OutSystems platform would have everything that you need. You could host internally. You could host in our cloud, host on AWS, GCP, wherever you like. But it has full stack capabilities. What I mean by that first is this is our drag and drop editor. You essentially hook up UI widgets. Those UI widgets can be created by you, can be templatized from us that are there for you. Hook that up to different logic and endpoints. So you have logic flows that produce more complex logic and workflows. There's even processes that can run offline for approval processes, or once orders are received, it updates things and that submits another process for people to be alerted. And then connect any other data source too. So we have a built-in SQL database, but you can connect to other databases of any sort that you have. Whether regular SQL, NoSQL, API endpoints as well can all be generated from the platform. And just to show you a little bit of the front end functionality, how we can make it look more visual, modern. This is a call center application for an insurance provider. It actually integrates with speech to text analysis, Azure Cognitive Services for sentiment analysis to understand the worried sentiment of the caller in this case, and show some claim information that's relevant to their situation. So it just shows you some more complexity involved in creating applications. We're not just one of those providers that allows you to use what we have and that's it. You're kind of stuck in the UI. You can create more complex UIs in the platform because you have full control. There's templates, but you can customize with your own JavaScript and CSS. And so that really gives you the ability to create fast. You can still update and deploy, but then modify as much as needed to. And I'll talk about that lifecycle in a minute. Order management's another application I show. Sometimes just shows a widget factory showing they sell different types of orders. They get different accounts in there. They have an approval process for what they can sell. There's a DocuSign process. It submits it to SAP. That's another nicer looking application that we've built in the past too. So after you build out your applications, integrating them is important. We have a lot of different pre-built connectors to things like SAP and Oracle, Salesforce connectors. But we also have open source APIs that you can connect to too. So in our OutSystems Forge, we call it, it's a repository of open source libraries. And these are all OutSystems apps that allow you to connect to different types of things, whether it's the camera plugin on your devices. If you're creating a mobile app, you can integrate with Bluetooth sensors and even the battery sensor and everything else that you'd have access to on a phone. On web devices, integrate with, like I mentioned, those cognitive services, Box, DocuSign, whatever other services might be out there. And then you can create these yourself too. So you don't have to use the ones that we provide. You can bring them in, edit them, create your own, modify them as needed. Once all of your apps are developed and ready to deploy, it comes with a full lifecycle DevOps process as well. So the platform includes a dev, test, and production environment. It allows you to continuously integrate and deploy to it. There's monitoring built in. I'll talk about some of that. And really an unheralded feature was the user feedback tool we have. This is something I fell in love with. And there's so many of these little things throughout the platform that make the whole lifecycle of development easier, in that previously I used to have to take my users' accounts maybe a month later after they send me a bug saying this link isn't working or something's wrong on a page. There's actually a tool you can implement on the whole platform for certain users or whoever you'd like that lets them click on the screen and enter feedback saying this link is broken or something. It actually takes a screenshot so you can see exactly what they're seeing. It takes the browser resolution, the browser type, the operating system, their note that they have with it, and it sends it to a queue for you to fix. So your developers can look in that queue or integrate that with other maybe Jira or Zendesk environments that you have locally, or TFS or whatever you're using to fix different development bugs. So you'll find that throughout the platform. There's a default way of doing things. You have a whole DevOps process, but you can integrate with so many other devices too, even DevOps capabilities, Jenkins, Azure, which I'll talk about as well. So on the CI and CD front, just in the whole application lifecycle, there's builders to accelerate that process. There's impact analysis between how your apps work together. I'll talk about one of the features that we use for that. There's testing frameworks built into the platform. You can also use third-party testing tools on the backside of it. There's DevOps features, like I mentioned, which is called our lifetime console to help you deploy, but you can integrate with Azure DevOps, Jenkins, other TeamCity, whatever it might be that you're using out there as well. And then the monitoring and logging capabilities. So understanding slow web page loads, understanding what's comprising that page. Is it a SQL call? Is it a query to this, whatever table? And that could be optimized better. You can narrow those down with some of our monitoring and logging capabilities to understand really how your apps are performing, whether it be on the client side, network, server management, between all the different types of ways that people interact with your apps. Then architecture dashboard is something I mentioned a little bit earlier. It shows how your apps are architected together. So we want you to build a nice microservices architecture that works nicely together for best practices. And also within that, you'll see a heat map of how things are architected, maybe what's being reused or duplicated, how to fix that. So there's really a punch list that comes with how to fix different code irregularities and optimizations. Here's how you can call the database server better. You don't want to call a database create action on 3 different pages for the same table. Maybe you want to funnel that into a CRUD wrapper to create customer records in one way instead of 3 different screens touching the database. So there's things like that that make your development team a better developer throughout the process and really give you insights on how to improve your whole ecosystem. And thinking through how many different types of tools we've talked about here, in your organization, how many different types of users would we need to manage these types of processes, from DBAs to network guys to front end, back end, and other just developers of different languages. Throughout the whole lifecycle, it's secure as well. So there's built-in security. We can integrate with single sign-on, Active Directory. A lot of people have internal IDP providers and maybe external ones for their customers too. So you have the flexibility to create really however you need those to connect because you control the platform. The platform is built really to handle the OWASP top 10 threats. There's SQL warnings and code injection preventions. There's application isolation for different front ends and whatnot as well. I'll talk about that. I already mentioned earlier, PCI compliance, HIPAA compliance involved in the platform. And then you have the ability to monitor and govern, run pen tests on the outputted code if you need to, for really more secure access to. With our whole team, we have a dedicated CSIRT response team, active monitoring 24/7 as well, intrusion prevention, even app shielding for really complex apps, preventing the screenshot ability on mobile apps and certain things like that too, to make not just your web, but your mobile apps very secure as well. The infrastructure can be scaled horizontally or vertically. There's high availability so that you can roll back to 2 minutes ago within 2 minutes, for example, in one of our options. So there's a lot of enterprise ability for you to grow your apps at scale as well. And really, and as I conclude here, the ability to drive from simple departmental apps is sometimes how people try us, to more medium cases, medium core apps, to extremely complex, like insurance companies, claims handling, policy underwriting, are all great use cases of our platform and show the power of quick templates to get something done, but then deep ability to customize with even custom code if needed in certain criteria. So with that, you have the wide range of experiences in our platform, and I encourage you to check out just low code in general. Ask me some more questions. Ron's very experienced in this department as well. Feel free to email me and we can talk more about us or just other environments out there.